Hello everyone, this is Jotto and welcome to Versus Series, where a member of my team, Acebreakers, faces off against a well-known or up-and-coming pro player. This week we have Jonpii from Acebreakers who will be playing against Cookie from Vega squadron. A couple of announcements before we get started. Acebreakers has just recruited two more players. We recently picked up Zumwana, but now we've also got Spiffy and Manuels who are now on the team roster, so very excited to have those guys on board. In terms of other announcements, I'm going to be restarting, and by restarting I mean it's been a while since I've done this, scheduled Hearthstone streaming. 3 times a week, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday most likely. Definitely starting on Sunday, but we'll have to see where it goes from there. But I'm going to have a regular schedule, starts at the same time, and it's going to be for a set amount of time, and I'm going to be doing that 3 times a week. So if you want to watch me actually play and test Hearthstone, then by all means tune in. But anyway, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? So, on to the first 2 decks. We have Jonpii, who has brought the Safari Zone, which I recognize the name as being his zoo list. Now, this particular zoo list is an interesting one, focusing a lot more on board control, double Zombie Chow, double Ironbeak Owl, very interesting. On top of that though, no Loatheb, opting for the double Dark Iron instead, which is understandable considering how much this deck focuses on board control as opposed to just punishing control decks. Now, Cookie has brought a deck literally called twitter.com/Vega. I guess that's the cameo on his Twitter, so I'll put it in the description as well. Whatever. Anyway, he is running a Ramp Druid list. Now this particular Ramp Druid list has 2 shades in it. Singular Azure Drake along with double Druid of the Claw. No Sludge Vultures, which is interesting. Instead going for the Spectral Knights for a bit more sort of punch. And 1 Force of Nature, double Savage Roar. I think I've seen a couple lists like this recently. It's been interesting. They've been running sort of the 1 Fawn token combination that a lot of decks were running a while ago, where they'd run double Roar and then 1 Fawn. Interesting in this kind of deck to be running double Roar, although with Shade of Naxxramas you can often just push damage, but you don't have things like Haunted Creeper, so it's interesting to see that particular direction. Now, the lack of Sludge Vultures and also the lack of Sunwalkers can probably be attributed to the Sunfury Protectors, which give things taunt. And there are some ridiculous taunt targets in this deck. Spectral Knight being the main one, where it becomes a 4/6 untargetable taunt, which is absurd. The other ones are Cairn, even Black Knight has a decent body on him. No Sylvanas in this list either, so a couple interesting different tech choices here. I would say, just looking at matchups, if the Ramp Druid gets his early game sorted, then he's favored, but if not, then he may just get run over by the Safari Zone, so we'll go into mulligans. Alright, so Jonpii will be going first. I think in this case just send back the Ironbeak and possibly 1 Undertaker. No, I think you actually, yeah, I think you do send back 1 Undertaker there. You don't really want to. As far as Cookie is concerned, I would send back everything apart from 1 Swipe, which appears to be what he went for there. Okay, so Jonpii has a pretty fast start here with Undertaker and Knife Juggler. And he is facing against a possible Innervate Shade. Is this an Innervate Shade? Put on the shades, man. Yep, this is an Innervate Shade. Alright, so Shade of Naxxramas is one of those weird Innervate plays where it's really, really good, but it sits around for a long time. And eventually it's going to do something crazy, but until that happens, it's just going to be sitting around. As I was about to say, you want to play the Zombie Chow over the Knife Juggler because you need some sort of beatdown to start going, and you don't want it to just instantly die to the Shade. But the second Zombie Chow there was absolutely absurd. One of the best top decks he could have got. Alright, so let's see what Cookie's response is. I have Wild Growth. Wild Growth is allowing him to swing in with that swipe. The problem is he has double Savage Roar in his hand. Yeah, you noticed. Slight mistake there in sequencing. Missed 1 damage. Sorry about that. Alright, so we have a swipe coming down here. I think the swipe target is Undertaker, and then you... I think you swipe the Undertaker and then just... pass? Yes. This is a weird play. I think you pass. I don't think you don't gain much from attacking here. Yeah, he just passes. Good call. Alright, so Defender Vargas is coming down here, probably on the things that aren't Zombie Chows. The reason for that being that he does not want a Zombie Chow dying and giving his opponent a bunch of life. Although these Zombie Chows came down turn 4 and they both swung in twice now, so one more swing and they actually have net damage increase. I guess they also buffed the Undertaker, so they've already paid themselves off in terms of damage, and now, from now on, it's just sort of additional damage. Now, Black Knight will come down here and kill one of these. The problem is he can't kill these Zombie Chows. That's the big, big deal right now. If he kills these Zombie Chows, he goes way out of lethal range. The question is, what is the top of the deck? Doomguard is lethal. That is not a Doomguard. Tap. This is the tap that will decide the game most likely, because if these Zombie Chows die, then his opponent stabilizes. Harvest Golem. That's miserable. Alright, so I think there's a couple ways of doing this. You can just swing in here and then play Golem. The other way is silencing the Shade. But the problem is you have 3 mana, not 4. This is a difficult play. Interesting. Maybe silencing on Zombie Chow? I could definitely see that. But going for the Shade pick off there. He keeps his Zombie Chows alive, and one of them is definitely going to die here. So he's going to start restoring life, which is going to be a problem. It's not irrecoverable from, but this is the downside of Zombie Chow, where they've technically done, like, I mean, at this point, they've actually done like 2 damage each, total. Because they both attack 3 times, which is 6 damage, and they heal for 5, and then the Undertaker also swung in for 3, when it technically shouldn't have. I think Undertaker attacked twice at that level. Yeah, I think it did. So they've actually done a lot of positive damage at this point. I think Savage Roar, Sunfury Protector is the correct one here. Kill both Zombie Chows, heal up a lot of damage. Maybe just clear out the board as much as possible. Yeah, he's going for that heal for 10. Which puts him way out of lethal range, and he has a Ancient Allure to follow up. So this is a really, really good sequence of events. Ooh, Abusive Sergeant. That could switch this back. He has enough mana to play everything in his hand, so I think you just do at this point. Make top deck Doom Guards not punish you. So, Knife Juggler... Yeah, playing... I mean, it actually doesn't matter the order which you play these in. You just want one to hit the Black Knight. Oh. Actually, it doesn't matter. He's going to trade anyway. Yeah, I just realized it didn't actually matter. He's going to trade anyway. Alright. Ancient of Heal seems to be the play here. I don't think you can go Ancient of Draw. There's 7 damage on the board. If you draw cards at this point, you may just die. So reducing that to a net damage of 2, essentially, although Knife Juggler is also going to swing in for a bit more with his triggers. So I think if he plays Ancient Allure and then heals, he can start the beginning of his next turn with about 10 life, hopefully. Maybe 9 or 8. Yeah, he's definitely going for the heal. Doomguard is pretty impossible to deal with right now. That is a very good sequence of draws. That Dark Iron Dwarf will happily clear off this 5/5. There's so many hopes for the 50-50 roll. And the 50-50 roll doesn't go well. But I don't think it even matters at this point. The Dark Iron Dwarf may have just been the nail in the coffin there. He can play a 6 health and taunt here, and that will block 2 guys, but then he's taking 6 anyway. So yeah, he's taking the 6 anyway, so he might as well use the Savage Roar to clear out this Knife Juggler, reduce some of the damage, make this Druid of the Claw harder to clear, forcing his opponent to hopefully use the Dark Iron, although he does get the Direwolf and the Soulfire. Is that lethal? Let's see, he can do 4... No, the positioning I think stops lethal. No, he didn't have it anyway, it was one off. Alright, so you play the dog here. And you play the dog in between the 4/4 and the Harvest Golem. And then you throw both of the smaller minions into the 4/6, attack his face for 5, and then Soulfire him. But yeah, I think maybe the only way of getting this to work would be... I think the highest combination of damage he would have had regardless of positioning is 9. So yeah, I think the play is definitely throw the dog in between the 4/4 and the 2/3, and then throw both small minions into the 4/6 and then Soulfire his face, taking him down to 1 life. You want to use the Soulfire at this point, and the reason for it is... Actually, yeah, just doing this is strictly better. What am I talking about? Actually, it's not strictly better. He has 1 more life, but yeah, he does keep the creature. And Loatheb, you are a fantastic card, but in this case, you're not doing much. So that's going to seal the end of the game there, as it's okay, you can't cast any top deck Soulfires. Well, I mean, I think he even could at this point. But anyway, so the game ended shortly after that. But the deck that's coming in to try and stop this Zoo deck, which has been labelled as the Menace of Hearthstone for as long as anyone can remember, really. We have the Facebook details of Cookie coming in here with a vengeance, which is a handlock list. Now, this particular handlock list is playing the singular power overwhelming, only 1 Soulfire, 1 Mortal Coil. On top of that, it's playing double Shadowflame, 1 Hellfire, as opposed to the double Hellfire, 1 Shadowflame build. 1 Defender of Argus has been semi-popular recently, and instead he's running 1 Faceless. Now, besides that, double Siphon Soul is actually not that standard nowadays. A lot of people run 1, but I do think 2 is better, but a lot of people do run 1. And beside that, the only other sort of pseudo card that is worth commenting on would be the Cairn. Cairn is not really an auto-include in any of these handlock variants, and it's definitely a personal preference thing whether or not you want the extra threat against control decks. Like, it's really good against Priest, and that's the main thing you really want it for. So anyway, keeping that in mind, onto the mulligans. Now, Jonpii, I think, sends back the Soulfire, and yeah, I think this is fine. As far as Cookie goes, you want to keep the Giant because you know it's Zoo. So he's just going to go ahead and keep the Giant and the Taunt Giver. Now, that is a ridiculous curve. I mean, for all he knows, he'll be playing in Zoo, so depending on what he sees here, we'll sort of establish that. He does have to face down an Ancient Watcher. Ancient Watchers are incredibly difficult to get through. The question is, do you play the Juggler here or something else? This is actually difficult. There were 2 lines of play there. The first one was playing Death Rattle, Death Rattle, Death Rattle, like 1, 2, 3. The second one was Knife Juggler into maybe Creeper, or you go Knife Juggler, Harvest Golem, then double Death Rattle, or you could go Creeper and then follow up with Knife Juggler, get some triggers, or just go Harvest Golem and then follow it up with the 2/2 drops. So it's pretty much entire, like there were 3 lines there, and I don't think any of them are incorrect. Wait, is that a 4/5 Undertaker? Do you just make a 4/5 Undertaker and then just not attack? I think that's what you do. I don't know, I'm not a big fan of this. You lose your Undertaker very easily. I mean, it is often a good idea just to take the kill when you can. So that's one way of looking at it. It does clear out. I mean, the Undertaker did literally just 2-for-1 a handlock. So yeah, actually, in hindsight, I think that was actually the correct play because you don't want to play into Soulfire or Power Bombing. So that's fine. Alright, so playing the Harvest Golem there makes a lot of sense. This board is weak to board wipe, but now if he board wipes, you still have 6 attack on the board, which is a lot and can swing in for a lot of damage very quickly. Now, playing out the Ancient Watcher makes you kind of assume your opponent has the Shadow Flame, so I think he just kills this Watcher. He could go face, but that's risky. So yeah, he's going for the kill on the Watcher. Makes perfect sense. You definitely wanted to go for the kill on the Watcher there. He's thinking about life tap here. So yeah, he's not going to attack. That makes a lot of sense because what could happen there is we could see Zombie Chow attacking, take him to 14. Life tap takes him to 12. Then he could actually go... actually, could he go Giant? No, but it does leave your opponent for some weird ones. Actually, yeah, because he could have gone Hellfire Giant. No, actually, no, he couldn't because of the Zombie Chow. Hey, the Zombie Chow Death Rattle is sometimes useful. Wow. Direwolf is a huge draw. That is one of the single best draws he could have right now. I think you just... Do you want to pass the turn or go for it? I think you want to save the Direwolf maybe for some damage. So at this point I want to kind of bait out a Giant. This is the kind of thing where Handlock is always a weird matchup for the decks that revolve around creatures and not that much burst. Because you got to decide when you decide to go all in. Like, when do you go all in? When is it correct to go all in? And Jonpii's deciding against it, I think. I think I may just attack with 2 attack here. Take him to 14, and that's about it. Is he taking him to... He's taking him to 15. Okay. Does that position much? I think maybe you could afford to take him... Actually, no, that makes perfect sense. Take him to 15. Mostly because it stops Molten Giant Sun Fury. But there is no Sun Fury. The Sun Fury was used earlier. So, we've got a weird position right now where, I guess in theory, if he really needs to get out of this this bind, he could just Siphon Soul the 2/3 and heal for 8. Alright, Sludge Belcher comes down. This Sludge Belcher is actually going to die fairly easily, by the looks of it. Tap first, yeah, makes sense. Direwolf is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that works out perfectly. Sacking off the spiders. This is one of the reasons why Haunted Creeper is such a powerful card. It really does shine in decks like Shaman, because they have Flame Tongue. Flame Tongue is borderline abusable when it comes to Haunted Creeper, but Zoo can use it with the Direwolf, and the other class that really does use and abuse the Creeper would have to be Hunter because of Houndmaster and Kill Command. And also Hunter's Mark. It's really good with Hunter's Mark. Oh, we have the Giant. Still no way of actually dealing with this board. Actually, he could Earthen Ring, Farseer, Shadow Flame. It still leaves a 4/4 on board, but I think that's correct. It also heals you for 8. I definitely could see Cookie stabilizing here and winning. Because he does have excellent removal to deal with the 4/4. It does mean he's going to have to take a couple swings from it though. But after healing for 8, buys him a couple of turns. And he has Jiraxis as well. Oh, the worst card to see when you have a Soulfire is the second one. Yeah, at this point you just want to go damage, damage, damage. I would almost consider Soulfiring here, almost. I'm not sure, you've already seen one Doomguard. I think if I hadn't seen a Doomguard yet, I'd be considering using Soulfire so you just don't discard them. The problem is if you do that, you take him into Molten Giant range. Still no Taunt Giver. Here comes the Giant. Now, there's actually 9 damage on board right now. He could just win with double Soulfire. I actually... Let's see, that's 16 damage with double Soulfire, 17. So, what I would do here is tap, Soulfire his face, and then hope for the 1 in 3. I mean, hope for the 2 out of 3. Come on, decided by RNG. And it discards the other Soulfire. Actually, does he still have it? Yeah, he still has it. That Defender of Argus is lethal regardless. We see some sorries going backwards and forwards here. But no, we have exact lethal. That was like counter BM of the sorry. That was kind of funny. But anyway, so Jonpii goes up 2-0 with Zoo. To be honest, it's been a while since we've had a straight 2-0. I think Zoo is definitely a deck that could do it though. As we see Cookie bringing in his last deck. Now Hunter was banned, keep in mind. Hunter was actually banned. So this is the last deck he has access to. This appears to be some sort of interesting aggro combo deck. It's kind of confusing. It also shows his Twitch address, by the way, so if you want to go check that out, go for it. But this is a really odd list. We've got no Undertakers, favoring Mana Worm instead. We've got some Ice Lances, along with Mirror Images. I'm guessing Knife Jugglers in here. Yes, it is. So this is one of those older school, sort of almost combo-centric aggro decks. Running Sorcerer's Apprentice as an aggro card, but also as kind of a, hey look, my 2-drop kills you because I play it, and then I play like 5 free spells, and my Mana Worm hits you for 8. Not those numbers, obviously, but anyway. This also showcases Blood Mage. Now, Blood Mage has been a card that's been fading out of popularity recently, mostly because there aren't as many super damaging spells that are good right now. But he still played Miracle and things like that, but showing up in this particular Mage deck. Besides that, Leroy Jenkins making a cameo here. It's been a while since we've seen a Leroy. Leroy at 5 mana has not been doing so hot, so nice to see him here, along with his 2 Arcane Golems, also known as Mini Leroys. And lastly, out of the interesting stuff, double Cold Light Oracle. Now this is something which seems a little weird at first, but then you realize the entire deck revolves around just flat killing your opponent as fast as possible. They can have 2 cards, but you just drew an Ice Lance and a Frostball, so you just won on them, just straight immediately off that 7 damage. So that's basically how this particular deck works. It's been a while since I've seen a deck like this. Very interesting to see how it performs, especially against Zoo, which I think is a fairly bad matchup. Depends what he gets. If he gets Knife Juggler, Mirror Images, then he can do really well. So, on to the mulligans. Some fairly simple mulligans here. Just get rid of the high drops. Interesting choice to get rid of the abusive. I think that's because Jonpii thinks that this is a freeze mage. But it is not a freeze mage. This is an aggro mage. As we see Voidwalker coming out here and saying, hey Leper Gnomes. No. Just no. You can get absolutely 0 value now. Remember not to pass go. Yeah, Voidwalker is like the worst thing to see if you have a Leper Gnome as your first drop. Now, wow, double Mirror Image. We could definitely see a Knife Juggler image play here with the coin. I think that's what we're going to see. And I've got a feeling it's going to be Soul Fired. I have got a feeling it's going to be Soul Fired. You can't leave a Knife Juggler on the board when playing against this deck. It's just, it's way too powerful in this deck with Mirror Images, so you need to get rid of it. Oh, where are the triggers going? Wow, that was unlucky. I guess he had 2 shots, 1 and 3. I think Direwolf, Flame... Direwolf is a perfect top deck here. Direwolf, Flame Imp, and then Soulfire, the 3-2. I actually would, because if your opponent, like, think about it. His opponent could just go Mirror Image, Missiles, and that's 5 AoE damage, along with Hero Power. No, you couldn't do it, you're not enough mana. But that's 5 AoE damage, that is a lot. Oh, RB Cow, silencing the... What do you silence here? Creeper? Direwolf? Okay, he's missiling first, seeing what he hits. Wow. He cannot cut a break. That was insane. That was one of the worst missiles I've seen in a while. All he did was increase the amount of damage on the board. That was absurdly unlucky. That's just how Hearthstone works sometimes, but that was really unlucky. I guess kind of paying back for the Soulfire, discarding Soulfire that we saw earlier. But in that case, he drew Defender on the same turn for lethal, so it doesn't really compensate. I think you may have to run out the RB Cal here on the 2-2 and then shoot one of the 1-1s. It'll... Problem is, the RB Cal will just die to the other 1-1. But yeah, he has to go for it. That creeper was quite brutal. Alright. Not playing the RNG. I think it's always worth playing the RNG. I mean, he could have got the 1 and 2 and then saved a creature on the board. Possibly a slight oversight. But this game is getting closed out pretty quickly. Unfortunately for Cookie, he hasn't really got what he needs here. As I said, this particular mage deck is pretty bad against Zoo. It does have some problems. I think if he managed to get the second... If the Soulfire hadn't happened, I think he would be winning right now. Because another Mirror Image, and then you could run into the Void Walker maybe if the Direwolf dies. And then just clear out most of the board. What? Oh my god. Alright, so the RNG, RNGesus absolutely hates Cookie this game. 1 and 4 kills the Leper Gnome, and then earlier that... Alright, oh, is it going to kill an image? I want to see this. Is it going to kill an image? Alright, let's see. He should definitely... Okay, not playing the RNG. That means he's going to save the Flame Imp. He doesn't want to play it. Which makes perfect sense. The reason he's not playing it is because he's actually pretty low on life. He doesn't want to just randomly die. Randomly dying is not in Jonpii's best interests right now. His opponent randomly dying is, however. Now, if he Ice Lances, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9... Yeah, this is guaranteed lethal no matter what. Are we going to see the Leroy for the sake of Leroy? Let's see, if he plays Leroy, you know, he should just play Leroy and then see if his opponent just kills it with whelps. Actually, there is one way of living, I think. No, Loatheb doesn't stop Soulfire this late in the game. Soulfire is just periodically lethal here. And that concludes our first 3-0 ever. That was an incredibly one-sided series. You know what? It's kind of amazing where we've had this rule where we play all 3 games in the best of 3 for weeks. I think we've had it for over a month and a half now, maybe 6 episodes, and we've never had a 3-0. And I think of all the decks that could 3-0, Zoo was probably it. And it showed that if Zoo draws well, it's crazy. I mean, in the first game, it came really close to stabilizing. It was really close. Just that last push really did help. but it came really close to stabilizing in that last game, in the first game. Second game was also one of those things where it was super close, and then the couple top decks really did help out there. The third game, however, was just completely one-sided. That's just what happens with Mage aggro that runs that kind of build against Zoo. You need the jugglers, you need the images, and you need your jugglers to survive. And if they don't, if your jugglers die, you die. That's basically what happened in that game. The Soulfire and the jugglers is probably the deciding moment. Once that happened, I think the game was just over. So it's kind of interesting to see a deck like that come back. Shame it had to come out against a deck that's pretty much traditionally a bad matchup anyway. But very interesting to see the fact that Cookie brought that deck in the first place. But anyway, thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback, put it in the comment section below. And I will be putting all the contact details, so Jonpii's Twitter and I guess all of Cookie's stuff that he randomly showed in the series, along with my streaming schedule when I actually figure that one out perfectly. So that'll be starting on Sunday. Stay tuned for the exact times. I'll be putting them out on Twitter. So if you wanna see exactly when I'll be streaming, then go ahead, follow me on Twitter, and you'll get a little pop-up whenever I do go live. But anyway, as for now, this has been Jotto, signing off.